Hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our program. Well, of course, abortion is on the ballot all over our nation this year, and very, very important decisions are going to be made. Well, joining me today is someone who has a firsthand experience of her abortion and also who coordinates the Silent No More activities in Kansas. Welcome to the program, Deborah Green Myers. Deborah, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Jana, for having me.
Glad to have you, and thank you for all you do for the campaign and to help other women and men and family members find healing. But let's go back and could you just tell us briefly why you had an abortion?
Well, in 1977, 47 years ago, I had an abortion 3 blocks from the United States Supreme Court. I was a college student at the time and an avowed atheist. I believed the lie that it was my body and my choice to make these decisions, and was common of a lot of Southern girls' schools. Most of our dorms had copies of My Body, Myself, Ourselves, and they were kept on the bookshelves available to all of us girls. I had a fairly liberal upbringing growing up in Washington, D.C., and I was grateful, to be quite honest, in 1973 that I lived in Washington and was able to see the fight for Roe v. Wade and have it passed in 1973. But in 1977, I found myself pregnant and in college. And so my boyfriend accompanied me 3 blocks from the Supreme Court to a high rise building where I had a surgical abortion at close to 12 weeks. When we walked in, it was in a high-rise building, and there were lots of other women sitting there, and there was no counseling done prior, no welfare checks on how I was doing with this or how my boyfriend was doing with this. But we were affirmed very, very quickly that for a young college student with a lifetime of dreams ahead of her, that this was an absolutely logical and perfect choice at the time for me, and that many others were doing it, that it was just a clump of cells, it was not a human being. And having no moral compass, I bought into that lie, and it was a pretty devastating experience. And as
Deborah,
my
just stop for a
boyfriend
minute.
wait,
You said no counseling, but that also means there was no medical history taken either. I mean, when you think
absolutely,
about it, you're about to have a surgical abortion
that's right.
and they know nothing about you, basically. Am I correct?
That is absolutely correct. I was given a pregnancy test, and that was the extent of it. And but there was nothing about options of other choices that could be made. Nothing. It was just total affirmation that what I was doing was perfectly normal and something that the women of the early 70s and mid 70s were doing in droves, and it was our right to do it, and it was
So,
our
so Deborah,
choice.
you just said too that at this time you were caught up in that whole feminist movement, my body, my choice, and freedom
Yes,
for women, the whole sexual revolution. But you also said you were an atheist at the time, so God wasn't even in your life. There was no, like conscience checkpoint there or anything. So you had the abortion. Obviously, your boyfriend, he was in favor of the whole deal too. He was there with you. What happened immediately following the abortion? Were there any complications? How did you feel right after that abortion?
Well, it was a pretty devastating experience because I went behind a closed off area, and there were just many doors closed where I could hear whirring machines going behind. It was very cold, very sterile. Strong smell of antiseptics and alcohol. And I was taken into a room where there was a table that had stirrups, and I was told to undress. And the doctor came in, did not say a single word to me. He did do an ultrasound gestational check, and I was close to 12 weeks, and that was what he told me at the time. The monitor was turned away from me, and I was told specifically not to look in that direction. And as the procedure started and the suction device started, the pain was incredible. And the nurse that was there um, offered me words that I have never forgotten. When I complained of the pain, she said, "Sweetheart, childbirth is far worse than this." And so the message was loud and clear that that bringing children into the world was not the thing that they were advocating, and that was far worse. And so that stayed with me and haunted me for a very long time. Um, Afterwards, I was told that I would have cramping and bleeding, and I was given orange juice and a room to sit in for a while, and then had my put my clothes on. I walked out of there with, again, no follow up counseling, no kind of check on my mental health, and a prescription for birth control pills, and sent on my way.
When you think about that, since when do you have any kind of surgical procedure of any sort and you don't walk out with a follow up appointment to go back and see the doctor, the post operative appointment? It never happens in abortion. You never see the doctor again unless you go back to the same place for a repeat abortion. So I mean, this is not good medical care at all.
No.
So obviously, you're looking back and you have this regret and you see how you were treated, but how long did it take for you to get to the place where you said, "I need help"? Like what happened in the interim till you finally said, "I need help"?
I had great emotional scarring from it. Um, I became very consumed with suicidal ideation, which has lasted pretty much my entire lifetime. I went into years of psychotherapy, but the psychotherapy was based on kind of a worldview, and almost an atheist worldview. And so there was never any spiritual component brought into it. And, following the abortion, we went into the Virginia countryside to a hotel, and I stayed curled up in a fetal position for a day, crying my eyes out because I knew, innately, I knew that what I had done was killing and murder of my unborn child. And it was very devastating, and that led to promiscuity, that led to substance abuse, that led to pretty much trying to do anything I could to numb the pain of what had happened and what I had been responsible for.
All right. So Deborah, then how many years went by before finally you found an abortion recovery program, and how did you find that program?
Well, that was an interesting story. 20 years after that abortion, I was visiting the Southwest and visiting a beautiful old sanctuary down there. And I had been sitting on a bench looking at the artwork inside this beautiful building. And there was no one else in the church with me. And quietly, I heard a voice sitting next to me say, I forgave you a very long time ago. Now you must walk with me. And that was it. I turned my life over to Jesus Christ. I became a believer, and and that started my journey. Did it change overnight? Absolutely not. I had a lifetime of trauma and acting out, and those things were a slow process in letting go of and turning over to the Lord for his healing and help. And so after that, I got involved in women's Bible study and was in that for many, many, many years and had wonderful mentors and wonderful counselors to me. And they really helped me make the scriptures learn to come alive. And I decided that I needed to serve the Lord and try to prevent other women from having to go through the devastation of what I had been through. And it was a very difficult path, but eventually it led me to different recovery programs, and one of those was Rachel's Vineyard, and that was a wonderful experience. And I took part in studies of Forgiven and Set Free with Linda Cochran's book on abortion recovery, and certainly reading your books, and became involved in Silent No More, to try to be more proactive in sharing my testimony and with other
So,
women.
Deborah, abortion is on the ballot, like I said, this election cycle. We have two parties. They couldn't be further apart on this issue than they are. The Democrats want abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, even healthy babies, healthy mothers. And the Republicans, they want to have protection for babies and their moms. So those are two stark differences. But then in 10 states, we have ballot initiatives where they want to try to put abortion in their state constitution. They want to allow abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy in their state constitution. And you live in Kansas now. And 2 years ago, it was on your ballot. And unfortunately, it passed to put abortion in your state constitution. And so all those good pro life protections that Kansas had have gone away. Now you're in Kansas. Tell us what have you seen as someone who is working in the pro life movement, working with Silent No More? What has the difference been now since those protections were taken away?
Well, Amendment 2 was very devastating. Um, I really felt like I had been called to. This is where my family originated from, and I felt I had been called here to be an advocate for pro-life work. And so when I came, we were. And then in that first year that we were here, Amendment 2 got a lot of steam and rolled right on ahead. In my personal opinion about this, I think that there was a lot of misunderstanding among the public of the wording of the amendment. I think that's highly important in these initiatives, that it is very clear to people what they're voting for and against. And Kansas predominantly is pro life, but we have a lot of big cities with colleges where that influence is not felt. And right here in Southeast Kansas, we have been hit with a Planned Parenthood clinic that came into the 4-state area here in the southeast corner where I am, and wanted to serve the surrounding states that were still pro-life. And so they were already getting huge numbers coming in from all over states, to Wichita, to Kansas City, and going to Planned Parenthood for abortions, women traveling out of state to get here and do that. And so, from their perspective, it was a logical choice to put a facility right here on the border. And of course, now we are dealing with the other states that are trying to pass their initiatives to allow abortion full access in their states. And so we have, Planned Parenthood just opened here in August, and they had an agenda that was pretty interesting. Started off with a little bit slower start, but they are into surgical abortions now. And they are just also going to be eventually adding gender affirming care to this facility. And so, the ramifications of this go beyond the killing of the unborn innocents. We are talking about the mutilation of children that exist right now, that are living, and have bought into another lie that they have the power to choose their gender, and do not understand at all that only God Almighty chooses that for you.
Deborah, I want to really thank you for all the work you're doing there in Kansas, both for Silent No More and continuing the battle there. Even though you lost the amendment, you're speaking the truth, and I know that changes hearts and minds. So I want to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And we just need to let people across this nation understand that having this choice, this doesn't solve anything. It creates a lifetime of pain and hurt.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining me, Deborah, and God bless. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you see now these ballot initiatives, this fight is so important. We have to vote no. There's 10 different states. One of them is where I am here in Florida. So in Florida, we want to say vote no on 4. All right. We do not want your taxpayer dollars paying for abortion. You don't want it put permanently in your state constitutions. And also, too, with this election cycle we're in right now, it's so important for everyone to go out and vote pro-life. The stark difference between the two parties is dramatic. The Democrats want to have okay to kill babies 7th, 8th, and 9th month of pregnancy. And the Republicans want to protect the mothers and the babies. So it's a clear choice, and please get out and vote. Go to our website, prolifevote.com, for more information. This is Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Thank you. God bless.